If you're watching this video on the NES YouTube channel, there's more information and useful links in the description below.
Welcome, Fearless Facilitation Workshop. My name is Sharon Corrigan. I work at the State Hospital as Learning Centre Manager and Wellbeing Advisor as well. That's my contact details. You can get them obviously as well from the NES team at the end, and if anybody wants any information, that's my contact details. So at the moment we've got just about 74 of us on today, and the session's due to last for 1 hour, so we're on till 12:45. The topics for today, the things we're going to be covering, is basically the Fearless Facilitation course that I normally deliver is a 7-unit course. I have delivered this course to staff within the State Hospital and to external delegates now. But it was a course that we designed at the State Hospital from myself attending an online facilitation course. It's normally a 7-unit course that we deliver over a number of weeks. And I was asked today to just deliver a kind of 1 hour workshop on some of the key topics that are about delivering online learning. I want to just give you a wee bit of flavour of some of the key topics from the course. So these things that we're going to do today are some of the challenges that we have with online delivery. And we're going to then look at some fun activities for online training, and we're going to try those out today. So get a bit of energy going in the room and get some online activities for us. And then we're going to finish off with some key tips for the delivery of your own training sessions. Now, before we get started, I want to just go over a wee bit of navigation for the platform. I'm sure you are all completely 100% familiar with Microsoft Teams, but as a facilitator of any course, it's always really important to make sure that you give an orientation to the platform that you're using. Obviously, I know there are loads of learning platforms out there, and within the NHS, Microsoft Teams does seem to be the most popular one, but I know that others are using other platforms. So there might be WebEx, Zoom, and whatever platform you choose to use. But one of the key things we've learned is make sure you go for that with your learners. So we're going to do a bit about that today, but it's also just showing you how actually easy it is to build in some of these communication tools that Microsoft Teams has on offer. And some of the interactions that we're going to do. So we're going to do a wee quick orientation just now. So the Teams toolbar, as we're all well familiar with, is on your screen. Depending on the type of device you're using, whether that's a mobile phone or a laptop or a PC, the toolbar generally will be located at the top of your screen, but it could be in the middle, or I've also seen it sometimes disappears and comes on. So just be familiar with that Teams toolbar. This is where you want to use if you want to come in and ask any questions, and it shows you all the icons that are available to you on the toolbar. The main thing, obviously, we've had already, and one of the key things as a facilitator is you want to know where to click on your participants. So that participants toolbar, if you all click in that, will tell you, hopefully you can see who your presenters are today and who are attendees. So we can see that obviously we're up at 84 attendees and we've got our 5 presenters. So it's just a good way, a wee reminder when you're as a facilitator, just to go in and check who's all in, and if you're looking to find somebody, you'll find them in that participants panel. The chat function that we've been using fantastically so far, I got used to use that when you come in. If you haven't already done that, I'd get you to click on the chat panel. And it's just showing you the conversation that's been going on. So this morning we've got everybody coming in. Alison's been posting messages, obviously just to let you know we've been recording. So it's a really good way to use and actually just interact with your learners straight off and get them in there, get that chat going. If you were in a room with your learners in a meeting room, you would be having that one-to-one chat. So it's just a quick way to get that conversation flowing and get a bit of energy going in the room. So we've been seeing today, I got you all to click on the chat, and I got you to type in where you were joining from today. So, hopefully you've seen quite quick, and I'm sure you've been in activities before that, people ask you to use the chat panel. So we're going to be using that a lot today. And just remember, use that as well if you've got any questions. Alison and Marsha's going to keep an eye on the chat for me. And if you've got anything you want to come in and ask, either pop your hand up as well. And again, I'll pause and hopefully we'll get those questions answered. The emojis is another great way to communicate during our session, and we're going to do a bit of that just now, a wee bit of fun, get fun going. So I want you to try and go into the chat panel, And you'll see the wee smiley face, that's your emojis. So I want you to find an emoji that reflects an activity that you enjoy taking part in. So it can be anything at all. It can be anything from keeping fit, or it can be to anything reading. So I want you to go and try and find a wee emoji for me, and I'll give you a couple of minutes just to find that emoji and pop into chat something that you enjoy that an emoji reflects for me. So I'll give you a wee minute to do that. So we've got some great things going on here, some weightlifting, partying, fantastic. Love Carolyn's there, the wee cocktails. I'm thinking that might be a pancake Amanda for a bit of pancake day. Some books, yeah. So just some really good wee quick fun ways. We've got some dancers. I love the fact that we've maybe got some amateur dramatics in our group today as well. Chefs. So good, some really good quick ways.
Sharon?
I just wanted to illustrate. Yes.
Eli's got Jacqueline, sorry, has got her hand up. Jacqueline,
Yes.
did you want to come and ask a question?
Yes, Jacqueline.
Sorry, I was just trying to find an emoji and I pressed the wrong button. Sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. That's good. This is what it's all about. Finding them and working with them. So, did you find the emojis okay?
I can't find the whole box that everyone else has got. I can only find.
So if you clicked on the wee chat bubble, it looks like a wee chat bubble.
Oh, it's the chat bubble, not the one next to it. That's the wee hand one.
Yes,
right.
It's the wee chat one, and then at the bottom of that, you've got a wee smiley face.
Ah.
Click in there, and then you'll be able to find it. Just you can either click in one of the wee.
Right, I'll put that one.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So great, we've got lots of activities going on today. I think we've got some budding musicians and everything. Girl Guiding Rainbows, fantastic. So I just wanted to show actually quite quickly with your learners, it's a good way to get them interacting and a good way just to introduce themselves by using such a simple thing like the emojis. One of the ones that we use when I'm delivering the training session within the emoji panel is if I'm doing an activity or anybody wants to step away, I get them to put up the coffee cup. So you actually, in the wee pizza slice one, there's obviously different food and drinks, and I've seen a few of you putting up some lovely cocktails and beers, but there's one in there called the coffee cup, and you can either type the word coffee and search for it, and that's the one that I use particularly if people have to step away. So if I'm maybe delivering an activity and somebody has to step away, I get to put the coffee cup into the chat panel, and then I would pick another emoji to let me know that they're back. Because again, it can be really difficult to keep a track in that, so it's finding some really good visuals that will work for you. So I always do the coffee cup to say they've stepped away, and Alison's put that up lovely for me. And then I do the wee dancing. I do a lovely wee flamingo dance or a dancer to say, yep, I'm back, I'm ready. So just thinking about that, how you can use those emojis within a training session. It's really good to have that planned out. Yeah, Alison, absolutely. Let's have a nice cup of tea. So another good way, and I've seen a few of us using these already, is your gifs and stickers. And that again is a really good visual way to kind of, if you're using it for an activity. So this time I want you to get into the gifs. So you're going to find them right next to the smiley face. And I want you now to try and find a gif or a sticker that actually tells me how you feel about actually delivering training online, or perhaps how you felt being in a classroom activity. So that be as honest as you want to be, but how do you feel about delivering training online? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to find a GIF and how that's for you. Yeah. Yeah, Sharon, love it. Yeah, so I mean, I just love the GIFs because I think they just illustrate quite quickly how people feel. Yeah. Lately, yeah, that's how I feel probably today. When I seen the numbers, I was like, oh my goodness. And I have been delivering, but it doesn't stop the nerves kicking in. Yeah, that's great. So some of these, it's fantastic. Quite quickly, you're just thinking, being online, delivering to a number of people. How's it all going to go? And you never know. You never know how it's going to go, but you just have to go with it and hope that it all works out in the well. I'm loving some of these images. Yeah, fantastic. So let's get us a wee bit started. A quick activity for you. So this is one I'm going to challenge you. I've got a wee image up here in the screen. You've got I want you to see if you can spot the smiling dice. So Marsha's just posted up to us. Can you tell me what colour the smiley dice is? So I want you to give you a minute to see if you can find a smiley dice and submit your vote on the poll for me. So off you go. Okay, so we've got, yeah, great. So yeah, you've all found it. Another good way that I've done that, the polls in front, yeah, if you just shut the poll down, as Marsha said, you can see it also in the chat as well. One of the good activities I've done for that is I've done a chat hold send. So I'll say to people, can you find a smiley dice? They'll look at it and then I'll go, right, hit send, and you get everybody to put it into chat at the same time. So it's a really good way to find it. So Elaine can't see it. So Elaine, I'm going to show you using my pen where it is. It's way down there. So hopefully I've just highlighted for you. You can see that. Got it now? Yeah. So a wee quick way just to show a wee bit of fun about how you can actually use some images again on a slide, as well as using your emojis and GIFs in the chat panel. We've been using the raise hand functions as well, and again, we'll keep an eye on that if anybody's got any questions. And Alison's kindly took a wee screenshot of that and put us into the chat. Great. And then finally, the other thing I just wanted to show you, obviously, was the more actions. If any of you have any issues today, obviously with audio or anything you want to find out about, we're not going to cover that, but you've got your 3 more dots in your toolbar that you can go in and find more actions in there. And then webcams is the last thing that I would say to people. Hopefully you can put your webcams on today, but I know for a number of reasons some people don't have access to cameras. But if you want to put your camera on, it'd be lovely to see some of your faces. I might not be able to see everybody, however, just because of the number of people it's on. But I've just seen people joining now with a lovely camera, so that's great. So I'm getting some faces, and it helps me as well. I'll give you a wee wave there, just to put a face to a name. And I think just keep that in mind if you're going to be delivering. Obviously, cameras is one of those things. It depends how confident you feel when delivering your learning and having your camera on at the same time. Certainly when I started, I always had my camera off, but it's the more it goes on, I'm all right with that. I'll be fine. If nobody sees my legs underneath my table, so if I can keep this bit okay, we're good to go. And just that wee audio button there again, muting and unmuting. Yeah, Alison, lovely. It's always nice to see a smiley face. Fantastic. Sharing content, again, we're not going to cover that today, but that's the other option in your toolbar if you're going to be sharing slides. And if you want to know any more about that, I've got some handouts, but there is lots of information, obviously, on Microsoft 365 or also the Teams channel about all the Teams training and different materials. But again, if it's something you want to know more about, I'm happy to cover that with them individually. So, does everybody ever feel like this? You know, you've been on a video conference before and you're like, oh my goodness, really? Is this what it's going to be? So I'm going to show you a wee video now that hopefully will get you a wee bit of chuckles, a wee bit of laugh going, because just reflects for me sometimes some of the meetings or training events that I've been in, and this has absolutely happened. So hopefully all going well. I'm going to share a video and it shall work. Alison, if you just pop into chat and put the audio is coming through, that would be great, just so I know it works for folks. So I'm just going to do that just now. I'm just trying to illustrate, you know, I'm sure we've absolutely all been on whether a training event or a meeting that's happened to us. And for me, that just illustrates quite quickly some of the things that can go wrong when we're in an online training event. And I just think it's hilarious because when she's up when it's party time in 5 minutes, I'm sure a few years have all put down the computers and headed away. But I think for me, you know, we're 2 years down the line now, and we've all been on these conference calls. COVID hit, but I think the more and more we're getting used to being on them, hopefully it's getting better. But certainly I could tell you a few stories for the first few meetings that I was on in those first few months when we were all home working. So I'd like to think we've moved on a bit. But some of the challenges that come when you're delivering online that the video illustrated, I want us just to have a wee look at that and explore some of these things, whether that's as a learner, you know, being on a training event, or whether you as a facilitator. I want you to think about, you know, what are the challenges that have came across, or that actually, you know, that you've been on and you think, you know, I'd like it to be a wee bit better. So I've got a wee question to pose to you here, is actually, what do you envisage are your major challenges in delivering your training online? So we're going to do a wee bit of breakout rooms here. Hopefully this is going to work for us okay. I know there's a number of us on, but again, I just wanted to try and show that actually, depending on your numbers, breakout rooms is a fantastic way to actually get your learners engaged and get a bit of chat going. It's really, really hard if you're in a big group and actually you just feel as if you're just kind of sitting there and actually you're not getting a chance to have, contribute to what's going on. So even though we're such a big number, Microsoft Teams now has the option to have the breakout room functions up to 50 rooms. So this is a challenge for us today, but a challenge that we're going to try. But they're starting, so you'll have a wee warning coming up on your screen saying in 10 seconds you're going to go over. So I'll start to see you all disappearing into your breakout rooms. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to put you all on the spot. Would anybody like to put their hand up and just come in and just give us a wee bit about maybe some of the chats for the room? So Karen, you've come up in my room. So Karen McKenzie, and you come.
Hi there.
Hi Karen. So where are you joining us from today?
I'm NHS Lothian.
Okay. So
working from home in Fife though, but yes.
Okay, so Karen, what was some of the chat you were having about the summer challenges that you've got going on?
Yeah, I think the two main things that we kind of discussed, the first one was checking the participants' understanding. I think you get an awful lot more visual clues in an in-person meeting. You can tell with body language if somebody's not quite caught on to something. And I think it's difficult to do that online because you're very much expecting them to be able to come in and say, oh, I don't understand that, which in a virtual meeting they might feel a wee bit nervous about. And the other thing was encouraging participation and getting people to actually speak up and put their hands up and actually, just trying to facilitate a conversation. I think some people are naturally shy about talking in meetings anyway, and I think more so in virtual meetings. I think it puts an awful lot more people off than it would in an in-person meeting. So they were sort of the two main themes that we came up with.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Some of the key things we spoke about that, it's about that engaging and how you're going to actually get the learners who wouldn't normally come in. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. Neil, I'm going to come over to you.
Hi there. Yeah. I think for us, what we came up with was a lot of the technical difficulties that you get. Certainly the building I'm in, our bandwidth here is horrendous. And it's working today, and it touch wood, it'll keep working. But yeah, we get a lot of technical issues from that point of view. The other one that one of the other people was saying, networking. It's that personal touch. You kind of can't really get the personal touch online, whereas when you're face to face with somebody, you have a bit more banter, and so you get to know a person better.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. That banter, that's the thing. And it's very difficult to get that flowing in the online environment. And it's actually thinking about what activities might work for that. So yeah, absolutely. Bandwidth's a big thing. Certainly for myself, that was one of the key things at the start for us. We live out in, as I call it, the sticks in Carstairs. And that was a major thing at the start. When we all went into kind of home working or people getting online, your cameras was just a no-no because it just took up too much bandwidth. So yeah, absolutely. These are the kind of things you need to think about from a facilitator perspective, and also the learner who's joining. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Joanna?
I was sort of thinking about distractions that people have. How do you keep someone's attention and their engagement if they're joining from home and they've got young children, animals, or even the postie coming halfway through the training session? Their attention gets disrupted, whereas if you're in a sort of in a training environment, that's sort of taken away, but trying to do learning from home, you've got these other elements that can pull your attention away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, like the video was illustrated when it was the home schooling, I at one point was delivering a training session and I turned down to my young boy who was in nurse at the point trying to climb inside the washing machine. And I was just like, okay, and I'm doing this, and the eyes were going like that. So yeah, multitasking at its best, Joanna, trying to keep an eye but I nearly had I was like, oh my goodness, this is horrendous. So I thought, I'm just going to take 2 minutes break. I'll come back. But yeah, thank goodness we're not in that. Well, I'm not anyhow. My kids now are all at school. But yeah, that was difficult in those early months, trying to multitask and keep everything under control and look calm still on the camera. For the learners. So yeah, all these things are going on for you. And I think for me, some of the things that you're saying, you need to think about all the different anxieties and concerns that you as a facilitator are going to have, but your learners. Technology that was mentioned, you're going to have learners who don't feel confident using that technology. They might have never even been on anything online before, so it's about thinking about if that's just one person or perhaps a few people. And connection issues obviously was mentioned there. Not having a video, and the whole being able to come in audio. Just thinking about alternatives then, how you're going to interact with those learners. So if you know that actually their audio isn't working, then actually try and get them in and just using the chat. So if people aren't, confident using the audio, let's say, well, why don't you pop into chat? Let's see where you're coming from. So we're done a bit of that today. We get everybody hopefully involved and getting them engaged from the start. And you need to think about that IT literacy. Again, depending on your topic, what you're going to be doing, you need to think about how you're going to use the IT that you've got. Learner engagement is a big thing, and if your learners are, just disinterested from the get-go and they're not interested, so it could be they've been asked to come on a course because it's a mandatory topic, or it could be actually, do you know what, I'm here because I want to be here. But you really need to think about how you're going to get that energy flowing, how you're going to engage with those learners. So that's a lot to do about building that rapport up and get a bit of trust going with your learners, using people's names. Now today, obviously, we've got a big group going on here today, but one of the things that I found straight away was start using people's names and start kind of making it personal to the individuals. If they feel that you're engaging them as an individual, then they'll feel that that you want them to be there, you want them to you want them to come in. So that's one thing that I've learned, is get that name going, and actually just breaks a bit of interaction, so and give learners that chance that they feel as if they're part of the group. Even if they don't want to come in and say much, get them to do it in another way, just using what we did earlier on, a bit of the gifts, a bit of fun. It's just about getting that rapport going. Lack of non-verbal clues, so concerns about not being able to observe, somebody said there, it's the staring face, or not seeing MD as well is just as bad, because sometimes you think, well, actually it's the awkward silence. Alison and I, it's about she mentioned holding the silence. I find the awkward silence is quite difficult as a facilitator, and I feel that, okay, let's fill this. Actually, it's not a bad thing, but as Alison said, to have that silence, let it be, and it just allows people to have that time, because you would do that naturally in a room. You would allow people that time to think. So again, just building that into your session plan and your training about, just be aware of that. That's going to happen, and actually just allowing people basically just feel kind of that actually it's their space to have. Concerns about the suitability of the topic, obviously that's always going to be a concern for the online, and practical training, just as we know, just doesn't work obviously on the online. So if it is going to be practical things, I know a lot of boards have had to postpone the practical, maybe doing the theory. So certainly for us at our organisation, we haven't done that. I mean, you can't teach. We do violence and aggression training. You just couldn't do that, online. So some of your topics they're just not going to work online. So you have to think about that as well. But obviously for me, it was just a chance, to think about all this. And I suppose before you go into delivering a session, you want to be thinking about all these things that actually your learners are going to come with, and about planning in advance of that. One of the good ways to do it, and the interactions is one of the big things, is actually get a bit of activities and fun interactions going in your online environment. So by doing that, I'm going to just show you a couple that I've used. I've done these in team meetings, and I've also done them on the Fearless Facilitation course. So I love dogs. I am a massive dog lover. So I could have had loads of cats or any other animal up here, but I've chose dogs today. So have a wee look at these, and I'm just going to come over to a couple of these. And what I want you to do is just pick one of your dog images and tell me why you're picking that image. And it could be just how you're feeling today, or actually just in general what's going on for you. So I can either ask for volunteers, or I'm just going to go down the list if anybody would like to volunteer up what image reflects how they are today. So I'll give you a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to be a fearless facilitator. Just come along and pick somebody. So Michael's put G, yeah, nap needed Michael, absolutely fantastic. Okay, so do you want to put their hand up before I come over? MD willing to say? Okay, great. I love it. We've got some volunteers. So Sharon McMillan, we're going to come to you, Sharon. So you want to unmute?
I'm going to pick Jai because I feel it's the dog's loving the outdoors and looking at me and feeling happy for what he's actually doing.
Yeah, fantastic. He looks eager, doesn't he? And he's having some fun. Thanks for that. Mandy.
I'm going to go for A because it looks like it's having fun, and so far, so am I.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you. Now we've got lots going on in the chat panel as well. I'm loving all of this. So for me, it's a good way. I love a good image to show, to reflect how people kind of feel about just if it's at the trainings. This is a wee fun way. It's just an idea how you can do it any images. You know, if you remember in the classroom, you could put a load of pictures out. You would always ask somebody to go and pick an image that might reflect a topic. So it could be based on your topic. So it's just a good way to illustrate about feelings or just trying to get that bit of fun interaction. So yeah, somebody's got, they need more coffee, Struan. We've got, is that Keegan concentrated? Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so another good way, and this is another one that I've used, it's a map. So again, you would do these, I've had this grow up when I would actually share the slides. So this is done as you're asking people where to join. So this morning I got you all to put in the chat, you know, where you're joining from. But this is another good way to do it that I've shared, and you can open up the slide together. So it's shared as a one PowerPoint slide, and I'd get you to type on the map where you're joining from. So again, it's that kind of icebreaker activity. And then as an alternative to that, you would say, right, where are you joining from? And then you could put on, right, okay, that's where you're joining from. I'd put this up. Where would you love to be in the world today? You know, if you could be anywhere else other than my Fearless Facilitation workshop today at the Healthcare Sport Worker event, where would you love to be? I know there's lots going on in the world right now, and, you know, we're all mindful of that going on. But actually, for me, I would just love to be probably sunning myself up in a lovely remote island somewhere, maybe with a lovely cocktail by my side. So again, it's just it's a visual way to actually get your learners engaged. And Alison's probably just put into the chat there exactly the island that I would love to be lying underneath that palm tree right now, Alison. So yeah, New Zealand. So yeah, share into chat where you'd love to be just now. It's quite quickly you're getting a chance to see where your learners. So just thinking about that, there's some real fun activities out there you can do. Yeah, it's good, and you know, I'm showing straight away in the chat. You're starting to use the gifts. You're starting to see how quick you can use a bit of fun, and it's getting that activity, that that interaction going with your learners. Another one that I've used often, again, I'm sure all of you, some of you have done it, is if you're facilitators, is that getting to know bingo. I've used this again, and again, depending on the topic, I maybe do it as an icebreaker, or I might do it or something about the topic. So actually get your learners to put their names into the boxes, depending. So this is obviously just more an icebreaker one, but we'd get everybody the kind of, and the task is to get everybody to fill it, and then you'd come over to a few of these and get you to explain a wee bit more about that. So it's just another fun way to show you how actually these activities can be done just as good online. The whole thing you really need to remember is when you're delivering online is avoiding that whole scale transplant that you would do in your classroom training. You're basically, you don't want to just take your existing one-day training course that you would deliver in a classroom and then try and deliver the same one-day training course online, because it just does not work. It's basically just trying to squeeze a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work. You need to take time to review those learning materials, and you need to revisit your objectives because they're going to be quite different on the online environment. So take that time. And what do your learners really need to learn, and what's your options, how you're going to deliver it? And you need to think about what needs to be delivered live, so thinking about what you're going to use that time that you've got with your learners live in relation to actually how could I deliver that in different ways. And you really need to think out, well, what's the nice to have in relation to, well, what do I must have in this time? So if you've only got your learners for an hour, you need to think, well, how else am I going to get them to get the rest of the learning materials? And that could be using that sort of hybrid model, so with an online module or maybe some reading co-assigned with the actual live event. So start to think about that nice to have versus the must have. And just back to that, please review your classroom activities and think about the activities you're going to have. So thinking about your tips, we're just going to go into here and just some of the things that I would say to you is tip number 1 is prepare your learners before you even start. Set the scene and clarify what the expectations. So how are we going to do that? Well, we've already kind of, hopefully, I think the healthcare support worker event has clearly illustrated that. You know, sending out joining instructions to your learners in advance. So if you're thinking that, you know, you're going to have learners that might not know anything about your platform, you want to get that sent out to them in advance of that. You could also do a wee quick 5-10 minutes pre-course about using Teams. I've done that where actually I've had learners who just really don't have much IT literacy. So I've given them a wee option, a wee 10-minute introduction to Microsoft Teams. And that can include details about actually just the platform. Headphones is a big thing, you know, if you want to make sure your learners are using these. So different things you want to think about it. And because then that means if you've only got an hour about your topic, you don't need to cover all that within the main session. You might also want to get your learners to complete some pre-course activities. So this could be some pre-reading that I'd said, or obviously some online learning. You could get that. Or it could just be actually just introduction to your fellow participants. So again, if you've got quite a big group, you might want to do some of these interactions or activities I've done before, getting to know each other before actually you come together. So it's about breaking it down and thinking about that. And it also, obviously, as we did today at the start, you know, that orientation to the platforms. I said you could do that in advance, but just don't make assumptions about your learners, because that will take away from, you know, what you want to get across and get the topic. Capturing attention. The key second tip I would say is you need to capture that attention of your learners. We don't pay attention to the boring things. We all know that. And I think, you know, I had my wee dog, lazy dog on the couch. You know, you need to start thinking about how we're going to do that. So get that warm welcome in. Reception slides, you know, if you've got that going on. So I have that for all my courses. I have a separate set of slides. Just bringing people in, you know, just getting people interactive straight away. Visuals, I can't talk about visuals enough. You really need to start thinking about getting your visuals in, and actually just interactions. How are you going to do that? How are you going to capture your learners' attention? We know obviously that vision trumps all the senses, and it's even more important in that virtual classroom to get those visuals and engaging with your learners. We talk about research showing that actually people retain information better if learning supported by visual. And by John Medina in the Brain Rules book, we talk about actually in his book, he says you would generally forget about 90% of what we've heard, but add in a visual, you actually can retain as much as 65%. So the evidence is there, you know, you need to start thinking about that, get away from bullet points. And one of the units we do in the course is all about visuals. We have the full topic is around visuals. So if that's something that you are interested in, and I know Alison's put in the chat there one of the image sites, but Pixabay is a fantastic image website. Some boards will have their rules. I know we mentioned that in our breakout room about, you know, what they would allow. We kind of got the freedom from our board to kind of get rid of the whole the state hospital logo in the background and go for kind of just visuals, because it just doesn't work. Sometimes if you've got the NHS logo or any other strap line, it's very corporate. And it allowed us to have a bit of freedom. So that would something else you have to need to speak to your own communication about your own separate organisations. But certainly for us, we were given that freedom, and that was built in for us to do that on our online sessions. Interactions. Now, how often do you think we have to interact? So I'm going to do this wee chat, hold and send. So what I want you to think about is how often do you think, or I suppose what's the recommendation? So I'll get you to think, how often do you think we should be interacting with your learners in online environment? So think about it, pop it into chat and then hit send, and we'll see what everybody comes back with. So how often do we think you should be interacting with learners? Yeah, constantly. Yep. So you're starting to see here kind of constantly full session, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. These are bang on the money. You're basically interaction every 3 to 5 minutes. That's what they say the recommendation is. Now, interacting every 3 to 5 minutes can be, you know, there's lots of different options, and hopefully I've tried to illustrate that today, but there's a variety of interactive tools you can use. We've got chat, you know, you've got your audio, polls, quizzes, you know, file transfers, there's loads, media, we've done a video today. So even in an hour workshop, you know, I've tried to illustrate, you know, there's lots of interactions that you can have. And yeah, Mary's just put, it doesn't mean you have to talk. Actually, you're absolutely right, Mary, there's loads of different things, but thinking about what your interactions are going to be and actually building them in. So be mindful of that when you're actually designing your training as well. Allow that timing within your session plan. I certainly know when I started doing online, I was going over my time completely because I just didn't take into account the amount of time if you were using interactive tools, giving the feedback. So it's about building in that time in your session plan as well. Creativity is contagious, as Albert Einstein say, you know, pass it on. You know, you want to get these creative juices flowing, as I call it, get that, you know, the creative thinking hat on. How can I get my learners engaged? How can I use some of these activities? And tip number 4 is keeping that pace. So just what I said, you know, being aware that things, you know, will take that wee bit longer if you're sharing files, if you're doing different topics or different activities, but try to keep the pace up and keep the energy going. The sessions as well, there's a lot, you know, I've been in many a course that I've been sitting there all day and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm losing the will to live here. So it's about thinking about how long you're going to keep your sessions. And it's recommended really 60 minutes is the maximum you want to be doing in one session. If you're going to go longer, so like our course we split it up and we have breaks. So I do a morning session and then I have an hour break and then I bring them back. So again, it's absolutely fine to do a longer session, but for one main session you're talking about 1 hour is the maximum you want to keep it to. This wee quote I thought it's just something to share with us about today's session. You know, it's kind of study without desire spoils the memory and retains nothing that it takes in. For me, it just highlights the importance of engagement, you know, thinking about that, and just if people enjoy something and they're enthusiastic and engaged, they're more likely to retain that information. So just think about that when you're actually bringing your slides and things together. So we are coming to near the end of the session. It's been a quick hour. We're just got up to 12:40, so we've got kind of 5 minutes just at the end if there was any specific questions. We've got a wee poll that we're going to do shortly. But I just wanted to say, you know, a massive thank you for all today. I was very nervous about delivering today's session. I've never actually ever delivered a session to as many people, so this was a big thing for me today. And those who know me and here today, I was nervous, so I'm really appreciating all this. Thank you and all the love that I'm seeing. It was a big thing for me today, and I'm really grateful for you all for coming along, and I hope you've really enjoyed it. We're going to launch a wee Wordle that we want to launch as well, and just I'm looking for a wee bit of instant feedback from you about one word that actually would describe how you feel about today's session and how it made you feel. I will happily send out the slides. MD would interested in knowing me a bit more about the Fearless Facilitation course. More than happy to share anything that I can with you.